Good morning, students. We resume with the lecture of the story Ishwaran the Storyteller. In the last we had seen how beautifully he expresses his stories and how realistic they seem to be and how engrossed a person can be when Ishwaran starts narrating his story. And he's compared to the television, like a substitution of a television over there, which has both the audio and the video effect. Let's proceed further and see what does he do to Mahendran. One morning when Mahendran was having breakfast, Ishwaran asked, "Can I make something special for dinner tonight, sir? After all, today is an auspicious day. According to tradition, we prepare various delicacies to feed the spirits of our ancestors today, sir." So the auspicious occasion was, the special occasion was that day you, in the remembrance of those souls who have left you and gone, you need to prepare various variety of good dishes and offer to them and you consume it. So he asks him, "Can I prepare something very good for dinner today being such an auspicious day?" That night, Mahendra enjoyed the most delicious dinner and complimented Ishwaran on his culinary skills. Culinary skills are your cooking skills. He seemed very pleased, but unexpectedly launched into a most garish account involving the supernatural. The garish word means a very show-off kind of a thing, a very bright, showy. Now, he fed him the most delicious meal he could have ever had, and then he steps into narrating the experiences of the supernatural powers. Now, what is understandable to us is human presence, but if somebody talks to you about ghosts and all, you would feel uncomfortable. If somebody talks to you about spirits and souls roaming around, it's very uncomfortable. So it was a variety, definitely a very vast North Pole, South Pole kind of this thing from Ishwaran, that he fed him such nice dishes, and now he tells him about supernatural things. "You know, sir, this entire factory area we are occupying was once a burial ground," he started. Mahendra was jerked out of the pleasant reverie he had drifted into after the satisfying meal. Now, jerked out means, see, something pleasant you had and that taste is still on your palate, and then suddenly somebody says something. You move away suddenly from that particular enjoyment mode to something very nervous. Reverie is lost in their own thoughts over there. When he was lost in that pleasant thoughts of the good food, he suddenly topples him down to somewhere else. "I knew on the first day itself when I saw a human skull lying on the path." Ishwaran had noticed a human skull lying on the path. "Even now I come across a number of skulls and bones," Ishwaran continued. Now somebody as good a narrator as this fellow, if he says something and the other one doesn't have anybody else to listen to, he definitely will have some impact on him as to what this guy is saying. He went on to narrate how he sometimes saw ghosts at night. "I am not easily frightened by these things, sir. I am a brave fellow. But one horrible ghost of a woman which appears off and on at midnight during the full moon, it is an ugly creature with matted hair and a shriveled face, like a skeleton holding a fetus in its arms." Fetus, sir? Okay, fine. Let's go step by step as to what we say. He says, "I am not a coward. I am a brave person. I can stand anything. Ghosts don't scare me, but this particular ghost of a woman who seems to be like in a skeleton form, and her hair is matted, means all tangled up and tight and bushy, and she appears on and off on a midnight of a full moon night. Purnima it's supposed to be. And then she holds a fetus in her hand. Now fetus is the unborn of a offspring of a human. It can be of any mammal as well. Now she holds a fetus, a baby, an unborn baby in her hand. That sight somehow bothers me, scares me. The other ghosts don't scare me that much because I am a brave man. Now the sound of it is only so yuck, and a kind of a figure holding a fetus in the hand with the umbilical cord hanging and all. You would start imagining things and you would feel yuck about it. Yuck, and you would not feel even yuck, I would say. You would feel scared, as it's a feeling of mixed emotions. Mahendra shivered at the description and interrupted rather sharply. Now he did not usually stop him, but this time he had to stop him because he had gone a step further. You crazies, Ishwaran. There are no such things as ghosts or spirits. It is all a figment of your imagination. Figment of your imagination is the part of your imagination. Get your digestive system examined, and maybe your head as well. You are talking nonsense. Now, whatever ailment we suffer, truly, this is scientifically proven. Either there's some problem with the tummy, then you suffer diseases, or some problem with the brain. So he says, go get both of them checked, because you are believing in something which doesn't exist at all. He left the room and retired for the night, expecting Ishwaran to sulk for a couple of days. Sulk means to be silent, because he had blasted him nicely, so he thought Ishwaran will be quiet for a few days. But the next morning he was surprised to find the cook as cheerful and talkative as ever. Ishwaran was a happy-go-lucky kind of a man. He never took words to his heart. From that day on, Mahendra, for all his brave talk, went to bed with a certain unease. Now, if you know that certain things are around, somebody has spoken about it, you can't stay at ease. This is a kind of unrest in your sleep. Every night he peered into the darkness outside through the window next to his bed, trying to make sure that there was no movement of dark shapes in the vicinity. Peered means looked with great difficulty, because it would be dark outside and light. They used to stay a little bit far away from the factory area, so light was not that bright over there, or street lights and all. So he tried to look outside and trying to make out whether something was moving outside or not, but he couldn't see anything in the vicinity, in the peripherals, in the surrounding areas. He couldn't see anything, but he could only see a sea of darkness. Till where extent his eyes could see, there was darkness, with the twinkling lights of the factory miles away. When you go by a train also, when certain places are distant from the train, you can see only the twinkling lights. So that was a sight he also could see. He had always liked to admire the milk-white landscape on the full moon nights. Now, when you see there's a full moon night, you don't need actually any light to see. When you are in an open ground, or you're on the terrace, you can see the moonlight only lights your way, and the whole night turns into like milky white kind of a thing. Not too bright, a dull white, bright, but yes, you can see properly. He wanted to admire that beauty. Now that has become actually a horrific dream for him. But after hearing Ishwaran's story of the female ghost, he avoided looking out of his window altogether when the moon was full. So he started avoiding looking out of the window to admire the moonlit night. One night, Mahendra was woken up from his sleep by a low moan close to his window. Moaning is crying, kind of a very low sound of something crying out, or that yelping kind of a thing. At first he put it down to a cat prowling around for mice. He thought it was a cat. It was looking around, hunting for a mouse. But the sound was too guttural for a cat. Guttural means like the base of it would be the sound's base would be from the throat. Okay, so produced in the throat. So he thought that kind of a sound cannot be made by a cat. It was too, I would say, heavy for the throat of a cat to make that kind of a sound. He resisted. Now he stopped himself. He was very curious to know what it is, but he resisted that curiosity to look out lest he should behold a sight which would stop his heart. He actually dreaded, and he resisted also. He stopped himself that if he would look out of the window and if he would see something what that fellow had described, his heart would skip a beat and he would die also. But the wailing became louder and less feline. Feline is associated to the cat family. So when the moaning became louder, he knew this was not a cat at all. Now what could he associate this with is the question. He could not resist the temptation anymore. Now that the sound was becoming stronger, he wanted to see what it was. Lowering himself to the level of the windowsill. Now windowsill is, if this is the window, you have usually a part which comes out on which you can rest. So that's a windowsill. So he went till there. He looked out at the white sheet of moonlight outside. There, not too far away, was a dark, cloudy form clutching a bundle. Now he saw a dark, cloudy form outside, and it was holding on to a bundle. Mahindra broke into a cold sweat and fell back on the pillow panting. Panting is running out of breath. Saans phool jana. So when he saw that sight, he knew and he could relate with what Ishwaran had said. As he gradually recovered from the ghastly experience, he began to reason with himself. Now if you are an educated person, you would not believe on things right away. You would reason out. Kya dekha? Was it actually what it was, what I was imagining it to be, or just a fragment of my imagination, or just something acting upon my subconscious mind? You would reason out, and if you are an educated person, you definitely find some kind of a loophole over there saying that it was not what I had seen. And finally concluded that it must have been some sort of auto-suggestion, some trick that his subconscious had played on him. By the time he had got up in the morning, had a bath and came out to have his breakfast, the horror of the previous night had faded away from his memory. So he had built up that notion in his mind, saying that whatever he had seen was only his subconscious mind acting upon it. Sometimes when you see a horror movie or something, you start imagining things, hallucinating things, and that night you will have nightmares, or even if you open your eyes, you see something moving here and there. It's actually your subconscious mind acting more powerful over there. Ishwaran greeted him at the door with his lunch packet and his bag. Just as Mahindra was stepping out, Ishwaran grinned and said, so grin is a smile on your face. As he was handing over the food to him, the food packet to him, he said, "Sir, remember the other day when I was telling you about the female ghost with the fetus in its arms? You were so angry with me for imagining things. Well, you saw her yourself last night. Now how does this guy know that he had seen something? He didn't even discuss a word with Ishwaran. So he says, like, you had seen that lady yesterday in the night. I came running, hearing the sound of moaning that was coming from your room." So he too had heard the sound of moaning, and he ran towards Mahindra's room to see what was wrong. A chill went down Mahindra's spine. When you're too touched by something, right? Something affects you too much, your entire body actually freezes. And you feel that kind of a chill in your spine going till the lower portion of your back. Because that's a kind of a nervous excitement, like kind of the excitement, I would say, that kind of a reaction by the brain. Something excited you to that extent that even the brain for a second stopped working over there, sending a chill down your spine. He did not wait for Ishwaran to complete his sentence. He hurried over to his office and handed in his papers, resolving to leave the haunted place the very next day. So this person takes a very that was the ultimate step he could take to secure his own self from whatever was happening around. He goes to the office and hands over his papers, whatever work was assigned to him, and then asks for moving away from this because he couldn't anymore stand to stay there even for a night more. Whether the whatever he had countered was true or not is still a suspense. But Ishwaran did succeed in making an effect, leaving an effect over there on his mind, that he too, as a non-believer in the ghosts and spirits, started believing, yes, they do exist. So that's the end of the chapter. When you get free with your term 1, do write the questions and answers of this particular chapter. You can tick them in the text as well. There are many questions. There are meanings also at the back. Do go through them. Each and every word's meaning has been told to you in the midst of the lecture. Be ready with a pencil and just note it down whichever meaning I have told you during the lecture. Thank you, dear.